Hey everybody, Jim Yort here. When you hear the word boredom, you might have flashbacks to a high school classroom when seconds felt like minutes and you couldn't wait to get out of there. Or maybe that time you were injured and laid up in the hospital and you couldn't go outside and have fun. Basically memories of boredom as a bad thing. But today I want to talk to you about it being potentially a great thing for you and why sometimes you need to just let boredom be. But first, let's talk about what boredom actually is, because there are at least two different types, at least according to researchers. Now, one kind, let's call it boredom A, is the inability to stay engaged with something that you're actually motivated to do, like when you're trying to get work done and instead you end up fooling around on your phone, checking your social media feed or the news or whatever. Now, personally, I think of that as more of an issue of distraction versus focus. And I recently did a couple of videos, one about how to work with and move through procrastination, and the other with how to get and stay focused. So you might want to check those out after this. But anyway, all that hopping around looking for new stimulation doesn't work to your advantage in more ways than one. For example, studies show that bored people often want so badly to experience something different that they'll choose new experiences that are less pleasant than the ones they had. So clearly, that's not very well aligned with your well-being. But even if you aren't doing that and instead you're spending hours on your phone or online or watching TV, consider what you're doing. You're taking in this constant stream of information, content, pictures, voices, you name it. And whether you're paying attention to all of it, or you've heard that commercial for the 20th time and now you're sort of tuning it out so it's part of the background noise, it's all still noise. If you imagine that your mind is like the surface of water, then all this noise and all this constant receiving of input keeps that surface agitated and choppy, like the surface of a lake on a windy day. But what if you didn't have this constant stream of new information? What would that be like? Well, that's sort of what's going on with the other type of boredom. Let's call it Boredom B. That's the kind where you're just apathetic and uninterested. Whatever it is you're doing just isn't doing it for you. Your mind is dull and it's looking for an escape, real or imagined. So it turns inward often to your inner world of thoughts and emotions and memories. In other words, it starts daydreaming. Now, you might be dreaming up more engaging ways of approaching the task at hand, or you might be fantasizing about being more content or about situations where you're more interested, or you might be finding stimulation in the act of daydreaming itself. But what's important is that when you're in that state, you're no longer just consuming content, you're creating it. Now, this one doesn't work to our advantage either if your only goal is to check items off your to-do list. But scientists find that when we're bored and daydreaming like this, that state promotes creativity and insight and problem solving. So you might say that boredom is actually an important source of creativity for us. And in fact, in my procrastination video, I talk about how to use that creativity to help you break out of procrastination. So in either kind of boredom, whatever you're doing right now just isn't doing it for you. And sometimes you might try to fight that by trying to force your way through it or force yourself to work harder. Other times you might try to make that feeling go away by picking up your phone or turning on the TV. Both of these will keep the surface of your mind choppy and agitated. The third option is to heed your boredom and allow your own mind to imagine and create the stimulation, engagement, and change that it's craving. When you turn off the screens and other distractions and stop letting those outside sources stir it up, or you stop trying to whip it into shape, then the surface of your mind starts to settle and clarify all by itself. You can see down into it and see your reflection in it. Now, I'm not suggesting that you deliberately spend all your time daydreaming, twiddling your thumbs, and basically being checked out. But I am inviting you to give yourself permission to let yourself be bored sometimes when you're feeling that way, and to not view it as a state that always has to be gotten rid of. But to recognize when you're feeling that way that there's a part of yourself that doesn't like something that's going on and would like something else to go on. And to trust that part of you and to accept that impulse in a wise way and to drop into it, to drop into and all the way through your boredom and into stillness. Now, personally, I don't actually feel boredom naturally very often, but not long ago, I induced boredom. I gave myself a lot of downtime and went outside and kind of flopped down in a hammock with no tasks to accomplish. I didn't even meditate. I just sort of laid there bored and daydreaming, using my foot to swing myself back and forth. And after about an hour, I suddenly had this flash of insight about this problem I was facing in my business, having to do with making effort and this back and forth cycle that I'd been noticing. It turned out to be a really important insight. So I know that this stuff can work. With the clarity that you find in stillness, you might also get a new perspective on something you're working on or a problem you're facing. In fact, keep a pen and paper handy in case you do. You might even want to write or draw, what's coming up for you as you're sitting there bored. But just be careful not to make another task of it. You might also not have any kind of breakthrough when you're doing this, but if the only thing that comes of it is having a chance to take a deep breath and relax and take a break from agitating yourself, then I'd say it's worth it. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please remember to follow me on social media so that we can stay in touch. And also, if you're the type of person who not only wants to perform at your best, but also experience a real meaningful and lasting sense of personal growth along with your achievements, then you might be the kind of person that could benefit from personal development coaching with me. And if that's you, then head over to jimyort.com/book and you can schedule a free coaching consultation with me where you can get a little taste for what that might be like. I look forward to speaking with you. And until next time, I wish all of you all the best.